Hello, welcome back to my channel. I'm Shauna from Created and Made, and today I'm going to show you guys the last 4 days of my Start with a Mark challenge that I did over on Instagram. These are the last 4 tags that I created, and we're going to take a look at the front side and the back side and see what I came up with. Fun stuff ahead. Stay tuned. Okay, so this was day 11 of the challenge, and the prompt was netting. Now, I just so happen to have this embossing folder that I got, I'm afraid to say, from Temu. This is back before I realized some of the challenges with Temu. But anyway, I got it off of Temu, and it is actually a 3D. You know how Tim Holtz has the 3D embossing folders? This is kind of in that same vein. And I ran it through my Big Shot a couple times because I wanted the pattern to be in a couple different places. It got a little bit flattened where they overlapped, but it worked out fine. These are acrylic sprays that I went in with. I think the first 2 were Dina Wakley sprays maybe, but this last one was a what's that, Marabu Art Spray, I think, and it was a little bit clogged, as you could tell, but I managed to get everything out onto the paper okay. And then I did my splatter. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating some background sheets. I'm using dilution sprays on top of photo paper, and I have a video that I will link where I did spraying on photo papers, and with dilutions and distress, spraying on photo paper will keep it from moving. It does not move anymore. It will not re-wet when you use it on photo paper. So I did that to sort of make some backgrounds for my die cuts, which you see there, those cute little birds. And then I'm just adding my simple sentiment here of this great quote, what if I fall? Oh, but darling, what if you fly? I love that quote. So really simple, right? A background, some bright, vibrant colors, a couple focals, and a sentiment. Really simple stuff, but very impactful and very lovely. And if you don't have a lot of time to craft, going this way, going this route really will work wonders. Now, this was the backside, and these were both Marabu Art Sprays. I liked these colors together, and this was the only tag where I didn't do anything to the backside after I created it. I just really loved how this came out, the way, the shine it has to it, the sort of the texture, the splatters. I loved everything about it, so I left it just as it was, and I'm going to go ahead and glue it to the back of the tag we just created. I'm gonna go ahead and attach this and get it all trimmed down. And my back is very simple, but I just love how it came out, so I just decided to leave it as is. Look at all that detail and texture. Love it. Now, day 12 of the challenge was the prompt was stamp, and I had this carving stamp that I already sort of transferred the image onto the carving rubber, but I never actually carved it. I never actually made the stamp into a stamp, so I went ahead and did that. And I have a few videos on where I've carved stamps. I definitely have a few more on Instagram if you're interested in that, but I went ahead and carved my little, whatever this geometric pattern here is, made my own stamp. And so now I'm going on to the tag with some Versamark because I'm going to heat emboss this. So I just did like a non-focalized pattern with the stamp, and now I'm going over it with some clear embossing powder, and I'm heating it with my embossing gun. Now you can see it pretty well, but it's shiny, it has been melted down, and it's ready to go. And I'm spraying over the top of it with this Dilutions ink spray. This Dilutions ink spray gets me in trouble. Like, I go in with the black very often, and I want to create sort of dramatic, high contrast stuff. And sometimes it works, and sometimes it's just messy, but this worked out okay. I had to clean it up a little bit before everything was all done, but it worked out okay. And I'm going with some splatters with some other Dilutions ink sprays, and now I'm creating another background with my photo paper and Dilution spray because I'm going to die cut out of this. Now this dries really quickly on photo paper and it will retain those textured spray marks that you see there, all the like the drippiness, the splotchiness. Like once it dries, that'll stay there. And like I said, you cannot re-wet this, so it's good if you want to work if you're going to be working with wet applications again. That's a good method to use because it won't re-wet and you won't ruin your texture that you've created. So I die cut this sun looking thing, but it didn't really work out because it ripped. But then I ended up using the center of it instead, and then I went ahead and die cut this little circular shape. See, there's the center of that die cut that I made. The rest of it kind of didn't work. So to emphasize that circular shape, I actually just created these other die cuts in sort of a contrasting color scheme. And there's my sentiment, and we're all done. Once again, these are very simple techniques, but you can create some impactful images with them. Now in the back, I just picked up another carved stamp that I have in my stash. I have a bunch of carved stamps. I'll link some videos. If I didn't do it earlier, I may have. This is just another stamp that I carved a while ago, and I'm doing the same technique. I'm going in with some Versamark. I'm creating a geometric pattern, and I'm going to heat emboss this. Now I was going to go ahead and do it with the clear and repeat that same technique, but then I was like, maybe I'll try a different color. And so I went ahead and grabbed this Ranger, I think this is Ranger embossing powder in this dark sort of deep black hole style color, right? And as you can see, my pattern, it looks pretty good. It has some challenging spots in there where it didn't transfer too cleanly, but it's fine. It's fine. We're just playing here. And so I'm going to melt down this powder with my embossing gun and get it all ready to go. Now, on top of this pattern, I wanted to do some ink blending, which I don't do a lot of. I'm just going to put that out there. I don't do a lot of this, and it didn't quite come together how I wanted it to. Whatever, we're gonna go through it. This is where it started to get ill. Look at that. There's some black. I don't know where that black is coming from, but it's on my ink pad, it's on my brush. I was like, what is this? Because that yellow sort of turned into a gross mess. I don't know what that is, but okay. So I went in at the bottom with this turquoise. I don't know what color that is. I think it's Dilutions, but how I decided to fix it is I just put the pink and the blue, covered up the yellow and try to sort of blend it into an orange and a green. It's okay. It's not as bad as it was, but yeah, something went haywire there. And so this is one of the creative cuts from Joggles, and I'm just ink blending on top of that in the same colors that I used on the tag. And I'm just going to sort of try to minimize the ugliness that's on the tag by covering it with this second attempt at ink blending that went a lot better. I don't know. I think it was from the embossing powder or something that was making that yellow all black, but it was weird. I don't know. So I just trimmed this down and I'm going to glue it right on top. I think it looks really good. I think that particular creative cut works well with this pattern from my stamp, and all's well that ends well, I believe. So I'm trimming it down, and I'm going to go ahead and call this one done with my homemade stamps and my embossed images. I think it came out great. I'm happy with it. On to the next one, right? What day is this? This is not the final day, but it's the second to last day. This was a 14-day challenge, obviously. The prompt was Fringe. And so I have this remnant bin fringe that I found at Hobby Lobby for like 50 cents, I think. And I am just smashing it into my old Play-Doh and creating a random, not even a pattern, I won't call it a pattern, a random impression. And I am going into my 8x10 gel plate with some cool blues and greens and getting my impression from the fringe onto the plate. And I'm going to pull this print. I'm going to end up with this cool fringe background that I'm going to use for the tag. As you can see, all of that little fringe texture came through really well. I trimmed the paper down to use on this tag, and I ended up with obviously 2 pieces of that pattern, so I can use the second one in a different project. Now this is Dina Wiggly Transparency. These challenge me sometimes. I love Dina Wiggly, but some of these weird faces end up a little too weird sometimes for me, and this was one of them. I'm cutting out a little crown that I'm going to put on this lady. I just had a small template that I used to cut it out of a pink sprayed piece of paper. I'm going to give her a little crown. I don't know. This just wasn't my favorite tag. It's got a lot going on. there's colors everywhere. But I like the quote. She remembered who she was, and the game changed. So she's a queen, and she remembered that, and the game changed. I like the sentiment. I actually like the background too, but I don't know. Moving on, because we're moving. This is actually a clip from a different video I will link up top, where I took some prints using this sort of table skirt party fringy thing. And the reason I'm showing you this clip is because I didn't make the print. I made the print was old. It was in my stash, and I'd actually scanned it and I printed it out at a smaller size, and that's what I'm going to use on the tag. But I just wanted to show you guys where I got that image from, and this is just me taking a gel print of that table skirt. And this is how it came out. I really liked how these fringe prints came out. Fringe in quotation marks. It's not really fringe, but it's fringy. And so, yeah, I took that to my scanner and scanned it. And I'm going to use that scan in this tag. But first, I'm going to create a similar colored creative cut to go with the scanned image that I printed out on matte photo paper. So this is the creative cuts I'm using. I'm pretty sure I used this one on another project. It's a good one with nice openings so that, you know, the pattern beneath can show pretty well. Now there's my color scheme, and here's my printed creative cut, and I'm going to go over the top of there's my printed fringe image that you saw me create in that older video. So I'm just going to adhere this over the top, and for the fringe for the fringe tag, I think that this older stash print that I had met the challenge and ended up looking pretty cool. Okay, so I'm just getting this trimmed down and attached to my tag and further trimmed up to get it into a finished position. There's the front side, and I'm making sure it's all square with the front. And I'm going to get this trimmed. And there you have it. Day 13 was in the books with the fringe prompt. And so because this, like I said, this is a 14-day challenge. It was a 14-day challenge. It ended up, the last day was on Valentine's Day, and the prompt was heart. And so I have this old Valentine's Day decoration that you can see I've already experimented with some paint on. So I'm just actually taking a print of it with my Play-Doh, and I'm going to use that Play-Doh to transfer the pattern from that decoration onto my gel plate. Now you see it take my Play-Doh and just pat, and the pattern transfers pretty well. I'm going to use half of that on, after I pull the print, I'm going to use half of this image for my tag background. See, it came out pretty well. I'm going to go ahead and get this adhered down and trimmed up back into its proper tag shape. And now over the top, I created sort of a collaged well, I did my splatters, but my focal point was sort of several different die cut pieces that I put together. That is a Dina Wakley transparency piece that I adhered to a pink circle that I punched out of just a piece of random paper I had around. And these two hearts I cut out of other painted pages and layered one on top of the other, you know, heart being the prompt and all. But then I had this other piece. I actually cut that Love Conquers All piece. I created it in my Silhouette Studio, and I cut it out using my Cameo. And that teal piece was something I cut freehand from a piece of painted paper, and I glued it all up together, and this became my focal point. I think the teal really contrasts well with the pinks and reds, and then everything all together came together pretty well. I like the black and the contrast of the Dina Wakley transparency and the splatters in the back, and I think these colors worked out pretty well together. Now, it was a little hard to see the word all, so I had to outline it, but other than that, I think it all worked. Now, the backside, this didn't really I was just smashing my Versamark through a stencil, which was not something I've ever tried before, and I probably wouldn't do it again because I was just wasting ink on top of the stencil. But anyway, I want to heat emboss that heart stencil onto my tag, and I'm going to ink blend it like I did in one of the previous days. Now, this worked out fine, the smashing the Versamark. It was just kind of messier than I would have liked it to be. And so there you have the falling, I think it's called Falling Hearts, I think that stencil's called, pattern. And I tried again with the ink blending. You know, like, this is just not maybe I don't have great blending brushes, I'm not sure, but it just was not super blendy, and it was probably user error to be honest. But especially this kitsch flamingo, I just got it on the card and I was like, ew, I don't really like these colors together, and I think I'm done trying to make them work. So I did some splatters, and that sort of I think I knew I was going to cover this with a creative cut, and the splatter sort of distracts from the lack of blendiness, and it just gives it some pattern and texture to the splatters. And so I had this creative cuts that had hearts in it already, and I was just like, man, we're doing hearts, we're gonna do it, right? We're gonna go all the way with the hearts. And I used this over the top, and it kind of, like I said, distracts from the imperfections of the blended or not so blended image underneath. And when I got done with it, I decided it needed some outline, so I'm pretty sure I outlined those hearts on the back. And there you have it. Yeah, there's the outline there. That was day 14, and this was this has been all of the tags that I've made during this challenge. Start with March 2025. Like I said, it's a 14-day Instagram challenge, and this was all the tags that I made. And you can check out the other videos where I made these other tags. I will post links to them up top. And I really enjoyed this. I have not used these Art by Marlene tags, and I'm glad I did it and made my little book. And I think everything came out beautifully, even when it didn't work out as I planned. So I hope you guys liked this video, and if you did, please go ahead and leave a like, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I hope to see you guys next time, and in the meantime, keep creating and making. Bye bye.